Rebecca Wisocky plays Hetty in Ghosts. I'm at Noble Gold Derby. I wanted to kick things off, Rebecca, by asking you what was the biggest challenge for you in Ghosts season 2?
Well, Hetty has a lot of growth over the
Mm.
first two seasons, and boy, Hetty finds a way by the end of it to actually feel remorseful and contrite after all of the horrible things that she's said and done, and all the growth that she's had. She seldom had to actually truly apologize for her actions, and she does that in her relationship, in the big reveal, if you've seen it, that her son is the one who murdered Alberta,
Mm.
which
Now,
she's
yeah,
been lying about for a century.
yeah. Now, it's such a silly show, Ghosts, in a lot of ways. It's like
It is.
big comedy, like really like fun characters. So it's like in some ways look very ridiculous. Your character, Hetty, is in her own way super ridiculous, but she does have, and maybe not the only Ghost with this, but she does have some real emotional, heartfelt beats, whether it's
Yeah.
with Sam and about being a mother,
Hmm.
having being able to be the mother to Sam that she wasn't able to be in real life. The scene there at the end where she has to confess about her son's sins, and keeping that a secret. How do you find the heart in a show that can be very silly?
Well, I mean, it starts with our writers. Joe Port and Joe Wiseman and our whole fabulous room of writers have structured a show that can, as you said, have this juxtaposition between zany, light, fast-paced ensemble comedy that really is just silly and ridiculous, and also contain such stakes. And it's because of the relationships. I mean, everyone is so different. Everyone is so reliant upon one another. And also, we're able to get in some kind of subversive jabs at, the foibles of certain time periods in American history. All of these characters have come from periods that, that were fraught. And yeah, I mean, how do I don't know. It's the writing. It's just really great writing. And so much of, great comedy comes out of conflict, and so much good drama comes out of conflict. So it's the relationships, and it's trusting what the writers have given me. And they have definitely given Hetty a really remarkable journey and some really beautiful, as you said, relationship material too.
Yeah. How do you as an actress sort of switch gears when you've got to go from something really silly to something that's more heartfelt?
I don't think of it that way. It's
Okay,
just
cool.
truth, as much as you can just tell the truth of the given circumstances, and what your character believes to be the truth at any moment, and what they're covering or not. And I don't know. We've got great directors, great writers, and great scene partners. I don't perceive comedy and drama to be inherently different skills.
Mm, yeah, no, that's a good point. What is something that you had the most fun doing in season 2?
Well, I gotta talk about the washing machine. And also when it kicked off this whole sexual awakening for Hetty, which is so much fun to play such a stick in the mud, being let loose. That's great fun, those extremes, and the fact that they paired the most uptight woman with the most ridiculous pantless frat bro from the 1980s was just a match made in heaven. And so we had a whole lot of fun doing that. That was some of the most fun stuff this year.
Yeah, it is funny. Like in some ways, the show's a real like quaintness and innocence to it, but also a real edge. Like
Yeah.
which is really also a nice little dichotomy that you see at play in Ghosts.
I've asked multiple times how we get past standards and practices with some of the things we say, and certainly some of the things that we do, and that Hetty does.
Yeah.
But and the argument and response is, well, she's not necessarily aware of certain double entendres. She's not aware necessarily of what she's saying at certain moments. So the joke can be made, but yeah, we get to be pretty racy. Yeah, we get to be a lot of things. I'm glad that the fans have responded so enthusiastically.
Yeah. And I guess like kids watching the show, probably if it goes over Hetty's head, probably goes after over theirs too. Like,
It manages to be a family show. That's what we
yeah,
keep hearing. There's something for everybody, Matt.
there you go. There you go. I guess if you know what it means already, the show's not teaching it to you regard, like, you know,
Yeah,
like you've already heard about it on the schoolyard and things like that. So
yeah.
what was a favorite group scene that you had in season 2? Because it's so fun when you see all the ghosts together.
Well, my favorite group scene of the first season was when the diabolical Matt Walsh came back, out of the vault to torment us all, and we all kind of got together and stood up to him. And similarly, I think of that episode, the season 2, when he returns from hell to torment us, and we all kind of band together to, again, all the problem solving in the show happens by virtue of the strength of the character relationships, and that one was no different. So yeah, but every
Yeah.
episode we get a great one. I mean, it's yeah, I'm having the time of my life.
Mm. You talked about how like Hetty has grown a lot over the course of the 2 seasons.
Mhm.
How have you as an actress grown over the course of the 2 seasons on the show?
Huh. I probably have become a little looser. I probably have become a little more free. Hetty has such a ridiculousness to her and a childlike quality, despite the fact that she's so interested in power and control. And those are some really fun things to play. I also think I've become maybe a better improviser as well. Their cast is filled with such great improvisational comedic minds, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Is there something that you remember that you improvised or offered in season 2?
I mean, there's, every week there's something. Don't
Hmm.
put me, I guess it's your job
Okay.
to put me on the spot, Matt.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I won't push it. I won't push it. What is like though when you're playing a character like Kitty, which in
Mhm.
some ways is quite like there's a broadness to her, while there's a real like humanity there as well. Like, how important are some of the like little choices you make and the smaller
They're the
moments?
most important. I mean, I
Yeah.
think some of the strongest work that I've done has been when I'm not speaking at all in the show. I mean, there's such again, we're often packed like sardines into a small little room. And so if you're just standing just off to the side of someone else who's having a moment, the kind of support that you can offer just by the manner in which you're listening is really impactful in those kind of scenes. And so it's a good skill to have.
Yeah. Is that something you've learnt on Ghosts, or that's something that's run through your entire career? Because you've done like stage, TV, you've done a lot of
Yeah,
different
I
things.
think that's a theatrical thing. I come from I have a dance background. I worked for a
Mm,
dance with a dance theater company for many years, and that sense of composition and of moving as a unit is something that comes naturally to me after this many years of having, done it. So
mm,
yeah, but I think it's a strength, and that you know definitely comes into play in this setting.
mm. And you talked earlier about like how whether it's the comedic or the dramatic stuff, it's about finding the truth and that's sort of the through line, how you approach all scenes. What would you say is Hetty's truth?
I think she's figuring it out. I think she had a lot of ideas about who she was meant to be, who it was her responsibility to be, and her privilege to be. But those were all defined by outside influences and by her husband and by her society and by her class. And I think that she's, like I said, on this journey of self-discovery that is only possible made only possible by the other women in particular, all of the
Mm,
characters, but mainly the women in the house. Um, yeah, I think, I mean, speaking of secrets, I mean, I did had to do a lot of thinking about having carried the secret that she carried for over 100 years of knowing that her son was the one that actually murdered Alberta, murdered her dear friend, the woman who became her dear friend, and having to kind of reverse engineer that for myself because we didn't know that information the first season. We didn't know
yeah.
it until a week before we shot it, and so
Yeah.
having to kind of wrap my mind around how all the choices that I had made up until that point could plausibly like knit together into the person who also had done that. And
Yes.
the thing I came to was this idea that so often the lies that we tell ourselves become our truths because they have to be. And I think that was true for Hetty. She made a decision at some point decades prior that it just had happened. The lie was the truth, and it just had happened in that way, and it kept the peace, and it made everything okay. So she bottled it down and bottled it down and bottled it down. So you see her for the first time when confronted with it, but in the last 2 episodes of the show, it's the first time that her plan just doesn't work. It's the first time that she's truly had to actually really apologize for something, and we don't know what's going to happen with that relationship with her and Alberta, but Danielle and I love working together, and I think we're gonna get some more opportunities in season 3 to see what happens, because I don't think she's gonna let go of that grudge so easy.
Yeah. And I think luckily for yourself and for Hetty is from a time where repression was probably a bit more in vogue than it is today.
Yeah.
So it probably is something that was less foreign to her, that idea of, look, just push it down, bottle it up, like, because
absolutely.
I imagine from her time period, that was done about a lot of things.
But I think her whole life was spent biting her tongue, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. What's something that you do you ever was there just anything fun on set from season 2? Any
well, we got a
memories?
ping pong table last year. Have you heard about the ping pong table?
No,
Matt?
I haven't heard about the ping pong table.
We've got a basketball hoop that is that actually we broke. So now sometimes Sheila just goes up and holds out her arms for it. We have all kinds of games. We have board games. We're all very competitive with board games and the Scrabble and the Mancala and all that stuff. So fun things are we genuinely like each other. I mean, I know we've all said this to you and we've said it countless times, but it's true, and you can't fake it. So we just enjoy making bits. Brandon and Richie have lots of ongoing running bits all the time, and it's just fun, and we have fun with our guest stars that come on and play with us. It's a very lucky company.
Yeah.
In that.
Who broke the basketball hoop? You said we broke the basketball hoop, but was there a particular...
Well, it wasn't me. I can barely move my arms. So it wasn't me. It might have been Asher. Might have been Devin. I don't know.
There you go. I'll love to do a podcast on it.
Yeah.
What about and you said there's been a ping pong tale. Who's the best ping ponger of the Ghost cast?
Well, I don't know if you know this, but Brandon Scott Jones was actually like a junior tennis pro, semi-pro, something. I don't know what it is, but he was a very, very good tennis player. So he's very competitive with the sports and with the table tennis. Yeah. And I think Utkarsh is very good. Rahman, and it gets up in there with him a lot, but yeah.
Okay. There you go. Fantastic. And do you have a favorite board game of the board games you guys play?
Well, I'm a big Scrabble head, so I love Scrabble. We don't keep Scrabble in the tents because it gets too contentious, but but yeah.
Bananagrams is a good one if you've got less time.
I love the bananagrams. Yeah. I have bananagrams. I'm going to bring that next year.
Yeah, because it can exercise the Scrabble muscles if you've got, but it's a bit more flexible of how long you can play it for. Yeah. Who's someone you got to act with in season 2 that you got less scenes with in season 1 that you really enjoy getting to play with more?
Well, Danielle and I loved having this storyline, and like I said, we hope that it continues, and again, the complications will come from that revelation that I think can spawn a whole lot more story. And also Sheila, I love Sheila Carrasco. All that whole storyline of sexual awakening was made possible entirely by her, by Flower's freedom and creativity with the washing machine. So yeah, I think we're going to get a lot more to do together next season. Danielle has forced us to be roommates, so hilarity should ensue.
And it's like when I spoke to you last season about who like you most wanted more scenes with, you said everyone, but you also said more scenes with the girls. So that's nice.
And we're getting that. Yeah, we still think there should be a book club or just like an exclusively just, Lady Ghost Society plot line that happens.
That'll be fun. And then you get all the boys in the B storyline so they can have their fun little thing they're going on with too. So yeah.
And Rahman, I think I mentioned Rahman as well. I love him. He's such a wonderful young actor and very talented and very lovely. And I suspect there's a good story to tell between Sasapis and Hetty when she was a young girl. I think, you know, we'll get some flashbacks for Hetty next season. So I hope that they involve
Ooh.
Sasapis.
Oh, fantastic. That's really cool. Do you have any other like hopes for Hetty as we head to another season of Ghosts?
I won't presume to know. I mean, honestly, I mean, sure, I have hopes. I've pitched things desperately, but at the same time, I trust our writers and I'm so proud of them and I feel in such good hands. And so wherever they want to take us, I'm on board.
Yeah. And what do you think it is about Ghosts that has made it such a hit and that people connect with so much?
I think that you've hit on it. It manages to be both light and ridiculous, and also very heartfelt in a way that's not treacly, you know, in a way that's not overly sentimental, and has lots of little teachable moments in there too. I think it's relatable and it's fun. We've heard countless times that it's people's most favorite show because of its humor, but also because it can, you know, prompt these conversations in families that otherwise wouldn't have happened. You know, people speaking about death and mortality and grieving and all kinds of things. You know, it's I'm very proud to be a part of it.
Yeah. And I bet like most fan like I bet different fans have different favorites as well. Like there's not
Yeah.
like one go-to favorite character. It just depends
That's the
what's
best part. Everyone's also like got a Hetty in their family, or they got a
mm,
Trevor in their family. So there's yeah, everyone has definitely developed very intense relationships with these characters and a lot of opinions. People weren't so sure they were on board with the Trevor Hetty
mm,
romance. So that was fun to watch. That was fun to watch that drama unfold.
yeah. Most TV couples have that, don't they? The lover, like they've become people get very strong opinions over
They
TV
do. I
couples.
mean, you got
Yeah.
to be doing something right. If people care that much about your character and their future and their relationships, then yeah. I won't deny it bothered me a little bit that you know people thought Hetty should definitely, you know, she should vote and she should be empowered and she should be happy, but we don't want her to have sex with a young guy. I thought that was
That's
very funny. I mean, it's definitely a May December romance that I'm the older woman by 150 years. So that was something that we had a lot of fun with. But I think they've come around because those two they're a match made in heaven. They're so ridiculous together.
Has
So.
your like what was your very first reaction when you heard that they were getting together? What was like your just initial thought?
Well, Asher has said this too. We both actually pitched it early
Oh,
season one, unbeknownst to one another. We both had said, you know, if you're looking for story, I mean, if you put Hetty and Trevor together as like some illicit, you know, couple, I think it would be a lot of fun. And we both separately pitched it, and they eventually did it. But yeah, so we were
oh,
not surprised. We were very happy. We just were really insistent that it not turn into anything too romantic. I think
mm,
it's something more complicated, more interesting than that. I do think that there's real caring and love for one another there, but their motivations are you know are power and excitement and money and you know they're going to get up to more trouble in the house together, I'm sure.
yes, and secrecy too. They
Yes.
yeah, very good. Um, what is one thing that you think Hetty still needs to learn?
A lot. I mean, I think I mean, she's got a lot. She's got a long way to go. She's very contrary and very id based. I mean, all the ghosts feel like children in some ways, you
Mm,
know, but she should come around on the Irish once and for all, don't you
yeah,
think?
yeah, no,
Um,
I
at the
completely.
very least. Yeah. I think that it was a big stride. It felt really significant that she gave over power to Alberta in that moment and in conceding that she was at Alberta's mercy. Um, and was begging for her forgiveness. That felt very significant that she really didn't have a whole lot more to say other than I'm sorry and I was wrong. That feels
Mm,
pretty significant for a character like this.
yeah.
So more of that.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Well, Rebecca, thanks so much for talking to us today. I really appreciate it. All the
Thank
best of luck
you.
for the Emmy Awards for Ghost this year. It'd be great to see Ghost get some nominations there.
Oh,
And
thank you.
people watching this interview can go to goldderby.com to follow Entertainment Awards. Rebecca, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. Be well. Talk to you again soon.